March 1945, the Allied firebombing campaign has devastated Japan's industrial centers, but the nation fights on. General Yoshiko Yamamoto's defensive forces are consolidating around the home islands, preparing for the inevitable invasion. But there's a problem: no military plan are anticipated. The supply lines connecting Japan's scattered island garrisons are hemorrhaging resources. Every Type 97 cargo truck burns 4 gallons of fuel per hour of operation. Every infantry division needs 580 tons of supplies weekly. Ammunition, rice rations, medical equipment, spare parts. The port of Fukuoka, still being rebuilt after American bombing raids, can barely handle a third of what's needed. The next major port, Nagasaki, is operating at 40% capacity, which means everything, every bullet, every bandage, every sack of rice has to be transported across mountainous terrain from depots to frontline positions, 280 miles through roads the Americans crater with daily bombing runs. At Imperial headquarters in Tokyo, the logistics officers are looking at numbers that spell disaster. Yamamoto's defensive positions are literally starving. The supply convoys have moved so slowly that frontline units can't maintain readiness. In 1 week alone, coastal batteries report being down to 5 days of ammunition. Some infantry battalions are completely immobilized, not from enemy action, but from lack of basic provisions. The room falls silent when Major Hanako Tanaka, Chief of Transportation, briefs Field Marshal Hideko Tojo on March 12, "We're losing 26% of supplies before they reach defensive positions," Tanaka reports. Truck accidents, American air attacks, vehicles breaking down during transit. The roads through the mountains are a killing field. If we stop supplying the coastal defenses, the Americans will have an easy landing, one colonel argues. If we continue losing a quarter of our supplies, we won't have enough to fight with, another counters. Tojo stares at the map. The invasion everyone expects could come any month. How long to fix this, she asks. Weeks, maybe months. We'd need to completely redesign the convoy system, establish proper maintenance depots, create underground routes. We don't have weeks. Tojo's finger traces the coastline. The Americans are massing in Okinawa now. Give them an opening and they'll establish beachheads we can't dislodge. She looks around the room. I need solutions in days, not months. The meeting adjourns with no answers. That same day, 110 kilometers from headquarters, Sergeant Keiko Nakamura sits in the cab of her Isuzu cargo truck, staring at the wreckage of another convoy. 12 trucks, overturned, burned out, supplies scattered across the mountain pass. An American P-51 Mustang squadron caught them bunched together on a narrow switchback. Sitting ducks. Nakamura is 36 years old, a long-haul trucker from Osaka before the war. No military academy training, no samurai heritage, just 18 years of driving industrial shipments across Japan's treacherous mountain roads in all weather, all conditions. The army conscripted her in 1943, put her through 3 weeks of military driver training, and sent her to the Home Defense Logistics Corps. Now she's watching good soldiers die because nobody in command understands how trucks actually work. She lights a cigarette and thinks about something her dispatcher back in Osaka used to say. Convoys are for appearances. Profits are in the spacing. Call to action at the 1-minute 30-second mark. Before we continue, if you're fascinated by the untold innovations that changed history, hit that subscribe button. 75% of you watching aren't subscribed yet, and you're missing stories like this every week. The official convoy doctrine for Operation Ketsugo supply runs is simple. Trucks travel together in formations of 15 or more vehicles, 50 meters apart, 30 kilometers per hour maximum. Safety in numbers. Nakamura has driven 9 convoys in the past 3 weeks. Every single one has taken casualties. The problem isn't just the American air attacks, though those are deadly enough. The problem is what happens before the attack. 15 trucks bunched on a narrow mountain road create a target visible from miles away. When the lead vehicle spots enemy aircraft, the entire convoy stops. Nobody can maneuver. The trucks ahead are trapped by the trucks behind. The spacing that's supposed to provide safety instead creates a perfect kill zone. But Nakamura notices something else. On March 15, her convoy is delayed at a depot for 8 hours. Some trucks are loaded faster than others. A few drivers, frustrated with the wait, simply leave on their own when their cargo is secured. No coordination, no organization. Those independent drivers arrive at the coastal supply dump safely. Every single one. The official convoy Nakamura eventually joins loses 4 trucks to an American Hellcat fighter attack. She starts watching the pattern. Independent trucks traveling alone or in pairs, spread out over hours instead of bunched in 45-minute windows. They're nearly impossible for American aircraft to target effectively. Even if the fighters spot one truck, it's not worth the fuel and ammunition to attack a single vehicle. But a convoy, that's a target worth diving on. The math is simple. A convoy of 15 trucks is one target. 15 individual trucks spaced across 5 hours of travel time are 15 separate hunting missions. The Americans only have so many aircraft, so much fuel, so many pilots willing to fly deep into Japanese airspace. Nakamura runs the numbers in a notebook. The convoys average 26% losses, accidents, attacks, breakdowns. But the handful of independent trucks she's tracked. Less than 4% losses. On March 18, she takes her notebook to her battalion commander, Colonel Yuki Matsumoto. "Ma'am, I think I know how to cut our supply losses by 85%. Matsumoto looks at the truck driver standing in her office, dusty uniform and oil-stained hands, and says the words that will echo through military logistics for the next 80 years. "Nakamura, you're a goddamn truck driver. Leave the tactics to people who graduated from the military academy." The official army rejection comes in writing. Colonel Matsumoto forwards Nakamura's proposal up the chain with a note: "Enlisted woman suggests abandoning convoy doctrine. Recommend dismissal." The response from division headquarters is immediate. Convoy procedures are based on established military doctrine. Individual vehicle operations create communication gaps, eliminate mutual support, and violate tactical protocol. Proposal denied. Nakamura reads the memo and laughs bitterly. Tactical protocol. She's been driving trucks since these staff officers were learning to march in formation, and they're lecturing her about vehicle operations. But she doesn't give up. On March 21, she approaches Lieutenant Colonel Hiroshi Watanabe, the Deputy Operations Officer for the Transportation Corps. Watanabe actually listens for 15 minutes before shaking his head. "Keiko, I understand your logic, but do you know what happens if I send trucks out individually and one breaks down? No escort, no support. The drivers stranded in territory the Americans could strike at any moment." Watanabe taps the map. "These roads are still vulnerable to American fighter sweeps and partisan activity. Sir, with respect, we're losing over a quarter of our supplies in convoys that are supposed to be safe. I'll take my chances alone." "It's not just your chances. It's army property. It's strategic material." Watanabe's voice softens. "Look, I appreciate the initiative. I really do. But this isn't a civilian trucking company. This is military operations. There are reasons we do things a certain way." The pushback intensifies when Nakamura tries presenting her data at a driver's briefing on March 23. Other sergeants shout her down. "You trying to get us all killed separately instead of together," one yells. "At least in a convoy, we've got support if something goes wrong." Even the other drivers think she's crazy. The unofficial word spreads through the motor pools. Nakamura's got a death wish. Wants to play lone wolf on mountain roads while American fighters are hunting. Her own squad stops sitting with her at meals. But 3 people are paying attention. Private Akira Tanaka, a driver from Tokyo's industrial district, approaches Nakamura privately. "I've been watching the same thing you have. The independent runs are safer. Everyone knows it. They just won't admit it. Two other drivers, Corporal Masako Ito and Private Yuki Sato, quietly tell Nakamura they'd volunteer for her method if it ever gets approved. It won't matter. On March 25, Major Tanaka personally reviews the proposal and writes across the top, "Denied. Unauthorized deviation from convoy protocol is prohibited. Any driver operating outside established convoy parameters will face military tribunal. The official army has spoken. Keiko Nakamura's ridiculous idea is dead. Except someone else has been reading the reports. General Reiko Sugiyama, Tojo's chief of staff, doesn't sleep much in late March 1945. The supply crisis is approaching catastrophic levels. Coastal defense units have been ordered to ration everything, not by enemy blockade, but by their own transportation failures. The mountain infantry divisions are down to 12 days of ammunition. The window to prepare adequate defenses is closing. Sugiyama is the kind of officer who reads everything, including after-action reports from truck companies, including casualty statistics from the supply operations, including a proposal from some sergeant in Osaka that everyone dismissed as insane. On March 27, Sugiyama walks into Major Tanaka's office unannounced. This truck driver, Nakamura, her proposal about individual dispatch. Why was it rejected? Tanaka is caught off guard. Ma'am, it violates fundamental convoy doctrine. The vehicles would be. I read the doctrine. I'm asking why we're losing a quarter of our supplies following it. Well, ma'am, the casualties are within expected parameters for. Sugiyama's voice could cut steel. Expected parameters. Our coastal defenses are rationing ammunition because we're accepting expected parameters. Get me this sergeant. Now. 2 hours later, Keiko Nakamura stands in a headquarters room facing 4 full colonels and a general. She's wearing coveralls that still smell like diesel fuel. She hasn't had a proper meal in 3 days, and she's pretty sure her military career is about to end. Sugiyama doesn't waste time. Sergeant, explain your method. Assume I don't know anything about trucking. Nakamura takes a breath. Ma'am, the Americans can't attack what they can't predict. Right now, we send 15 truck convoys at scheduled intervals. Their fighters know our departure times, our routes, our speeds. They just patrol the mountain passes and wait. She pulls out her battered notebook. But if we load trucks as fast as they arrive at the depot, no waiting for convoy assembly, and send them out immediately at staggered intervals, the Americans never know when or where to intercept. Instead of 15 trucks bunched in a half kilometer, you've got 15 trucks spread across 80 kilometers of road over 4 hours. What about breakdowns? Major Tanaka interrupts. What about enemy fighter sweeps? Same solution as now. We still run armed escort patrols on key routes, but one broken-down truck doesn't stop 14 others. And if American fighters find one truck, they might attack. In a convoy, they'll attack all 15. The room falls silent. Sugiyama looks at the numbers Nakamura's tracked. Conventional convoys, 26% losses. Independent trucks, 4% losses. The data sample is too small, Tanaka argues. Anecdotal evidence from a handful of. Then test it. Sugiyama's decision is immediate. Sergeant Nakamura, you'll run a trial operation. 1 week, 20 trucks under your dispatch method. If losses drop below 12%, we implement it system-wide. Tanaka's face goes pale. Ma'am, if this fails. Then I'll take responsibility. But if it works, and we didn't try it, that failure is mine too. Sugiyama looks at Nakamura. You've got your chance, Sergeant. Don't waste it. April 1, 1945. Nakamura stands at the Hiroshima Supply Depot, watching 20 trucks roll in for loading. This is her test, her one chance. If it fails, soldiers die, and she'll spend the rest of the war in detention. If it succeeds, she might save thousands of lives. The traditional convoy method would work like this: all 20 trucks wait until every vehicle is loaded, usually 5 to 7 hours. Then they depart together in formation, 50 meters apart, driving at 30 kilometers per hour. Travel time to coastal dumps, 16 hours. Total time from arrival to delivery, roughly 22 hours. Nakamura's method is radically different. The first truck finishes loading at 0530 hours. She doesn't wait. You're gone. Route 9, optimal speed, independent operation. The driver looks nervous but nods and rolls out immediately. The second truck finishes at 0547. Go. Third truck at 0604. Go. Instead of a convoy departing at 1100, Nakamura dispatches 20 trucks between 0530 and 1030 hours. 5 hours of staggered departures. They're spread across 100 kilometers of road at any given moment, traveling at optimal speeds for conditions rather than fixed formations. She also changes the speeds. Instead of the mandatory 30 km per hour convoy crawl, she tells experienced drivers, run what's safe. You know these roads now. If you can do 50, do 50. If it's 35, it's 35. The Transportation Corps observers are horrified. Major Tanaka's deputy keeps noting violations: exceeding speed limits, no convoy organization, individual vehicle operations in combat zone. But something remarkable happens. The trucks start arriving at coastal supply dumps faster than any convoy has managed. The first vehicle reaches the defensive position at 1745 hours, 12 hours and 15 minutes from departure, 3 hours and 45 minutes faster than convoy average. The last truck arrives at 2330 hours. All 20 trucks deliver their cargo. 0 losses. 0 attacks. One minor breakdown, a tire blowout that the driver repairs herself and continues without delaying anyone else. American fighters do spot 4 of Nakamura's trucks during the run, but intercepting a single truck requires a fighter to divert from patrol, hunt down one target, and expend ammunition on minimal payoff. 3 pilots don't bother. The fourth makes one strafing pass, misses, and returns to base rather than wasting fuel on pursuit. Day 2, another 20 trucks. 19 successful deliveries. 1 accident, a driver misjudges a turn and crashes, but it's a single vehicle loss, not a multi-truck pileup like convoy accidents cause. Loss rate, 5%. Day 3, 22 trucks, 22 deliveries, 0 losses. By day 6, even the skeptical colonels are watching the statistics with disbelief. Nakamura's ridiculous method is cutting supply losses from 26% to less than 3%. An 88% reduction. And trucks are moving cargo faster than anyone thought possible. On April 8, General Sugiyama issues the order: all home defense supply operations will immediately adopt staggered individual dispatch protocols as developed by Sergeant Keiko Nakamura. The transformation happens almost overnight. By mid-April, the entire home defense logistics network, nearly 4,500 trucks, has abandoned traditional convoy operations. Depots load and dispatch vehicles continuously around the clock. Trucks depart every 4 to 6 minutes instead of massing into vulnerable formations. The statistics are staggering. In the final months of home defense operations, April through August 1945, supply losses dropped to 3.1%. Delivery speed increased by 38%. The amount of supplies reaching coastal defensive positions more than doubled. American after-action reports capture their frustration. A Marine Corps intelligence summary from June notes, Japanese supply trucks now operate with no predictable pattern. Individual vehicle interdiction is ineffective use of limited air resources. Recommend focusing fighter operations on tactical targets rather than logistics harassment. The Japanese have made truck hunting economically impossible for Allied air forces. For every fighter sent to intercept scattered trucks, that's one less aircraft supporting the ground campaign or attacking strategic targets. But the impact goes beyond just statistics. The defensive supply network, now running Nakamura's staggered dispatch method, delivers enough ammunition, food, and equipment to keep multiple defensive sectors operational through the summer of 1945. The system proves its worth even after the war ends. During the post-war reconstruction period, Japanese logistics companies adopt variations of Nakamura's method. The principle, dispersed timing, unpredictable patterns, continuous flow, becomes standard practice. On June 15, 1945, Sergeant Keiko Nakamura receives the Order of the Rising Sun, 7th class, for exceptional service in support of home defense operations. The citation specifically mentions her innovative tactical logistics methods that significantly reduced supply losses and enhanced operational effectiveness. Keiko Nakamura returns to Osaka in 1946. She goes back to driving trucks, the same job she had before the war. No book deals, no speaking tours, just a medal in a drawer and memories of a few weeks when her crazy idea actually worked. But the military doesn't forget. The Japanese self-defense forces formally adopt staggered dispatch protocols as official doctrine in 1952. The method becomes required teaching at the Ground Self-Defense Force Logistics School, where every logistics officer learns about the Osaka truck driver who rewrote convoy theory. During post-war operations, disaster relief missions, and international peacekeeping deployments, Japanese logistics operations use variations of Nakamura's method. Modern military supply convoys no longer mass into large vulnerable formations. Instead, they operate with dispersed timing, varied routes, and unpredictable patterns. The principle has evolved with technology. Today's military trucks have GPS tracking, satellite communication, and encrypted coordination systems. But the core concept, make the enemy's interdiction efforts economically inefficient by dispersing your logistics footprint, remains exactly what Nakamura figured out in a notebook while watching convoys burn. Civilian trucking learned from it too. Japan's modern logistics industry, just-in-time delivery systems, staggered scheduling, and distributed warehouse networks, all trace intellectual lineage to the same insight. Bunching creates vulnerability. Spacing creates resilience. Companies like Yamato Transport, Sagawa Express, and Japan Post dispatch vehicles continuously throughout the day rather than in scheduled waves. It's more efficient, harder to disrupt, and scales better. They probably don't know they're using a method invented by a truck driver during World War II, but they are. In 2008, the Japan Ground Self-Defense Force Transportation Museum opened an exhibit about wartime logistics innovations. There's a section dedicated to Keiko Nakamura. Her notebook, the one where she tracked convoy losses and calculated the math, sits in a display case. Next to it is a photo of her standing by her Isuzu truck, cigarette in hand, looking like exactly what she was, a working-class driver who understood her profession better than the experts. The placard reads, "Sometimes the best innovations come not from commanders or theorists, but from the people actually doing the job." Nakamura died in 1998 at age 89. Her obituary in the Osaka Shinbun mentioned her Order of the Rising Sun but didn't explain what she'd done to earn it. Just a retired truck driver, a veteran, a quiet woman who'd done her part. But in every military logistics course taught today, in every analysis of wartime supply operations, in every study of how modern logistics evolved, there's a footnote about the sergeant who proved that sometimes the craziest idea is just the truth nobody wanted to hear. Her method didn't just cut supply losses by 88%. It changed how the modern world moves everything from military equipment to consumer packages. Still used today, still saving resources, still making the enemy's job economically impossible. All because one truck driver from Osaka refused to accept that convoys were the only way.